Clay increases taxes for schools, and all the details on Restaurant Week. Tribune Unscripted starts now. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for Tribune Unscripted. I'm Brandon Dawkins with Tribune Digital Media, here with Scott Buttram, publisher of the Trustful Tribune. All right. Busy time these days. We managed to get here.
It has been a busy week.
Lots to talk about today, but we kind of have a roundup of some city business, some interesting things going on in some of our the cities that we cover and some of their council meetings, and honestly I think that ranks up pretty high in importance. And so let's start with that today. We're going to start with Clay. We were supposed to have the Clay people here, but they had to cancel. They had something come up, but we do still want to talk about what's going on there. And so let's set the scene a little bit. We have a new mayor in Clay, Jane Anderton, Mayor Jane Anderton. And back before, it was after the summer elections, but before she took office, the outgoing mayor repealed a 5% ad valorem property tax that people in Clay paid. They ended it because it had been put in place for city police. And then you said maybe schools too.
We covered it. It was put in place for either a police department or a school system, a Clay school system.
And it turned out neither one of those things were feasible. And so back in September 2025, according to what the city put out, they decided to repeal those mills. Okay. So now let's fast forward. Mayor Anderton put back out a new policy, not the old one, a new one, at their meeting last night to pass.
Reinstated.
Yeah, but a new policy of 5 mills for property tax owners. And this time the money is just for school purposes.
Right.
And so reading the story, it sounds like it would be a fund where schools or education groups would apply for the fund, for the funding for different things.
Yeah, they can come there in probably some type of grant process. They can, residents or schools, whatever, can come to the city council and apply, and they'll have money there that they can determine whether or not they want to award the money for education purposes. You saw me make a face when you said they determined it wasn't feasible to start a police department or a school system. And this comes up in a lot of our cities from time to time. So let's clarify that.
Okay.
It is feasible to start a police department or a school system in any city in Alabama as long as you meet the population numbers. It is feasible, okay? Any city can do it, and any city can afford it if they're willing to pay for it.
Right.
So when you hear city leaders say it's not feasible, what they're really saying is we're not willing to pay for it. They do it. It is feasible. You might have to raise taxes to do it, but we hear that a lot from cities and some in our coverage area that have said that pretty routinely. We can't afford a police department. We can't afford a school system. No, the truth is you choose not to, and that's fine. There are other options, and for a lot of communities, that works out just fine. So it's not necessarily a bad thing when they say we don't want to pay for it, but don't say you can't afford it. That's not true. You choose not to afford it. Be honest about it with your residents. So that's what went on in Clay, is they passed the 5 mills for a police department or a school system. Previous administration did that. And then they came back and said, well, we can't really afford it. The money was used for potholes, to pave streets, for things like that, okay? And that's fine. Those are city needs as well, but it was passed under false pretenses, in my opinion. And some of the city council members, I remember Kevin Small and Ricky Baker, both were on the council, on the Clay Council, and both said, no, this is not why we passed this tax. And they weren't happy with that at all. They wanted to pursue one or the other, but they were outvoted on council, and so that money went into the general fund and was used that way. There's a history here, and we covered all that history, so we remember it. So when Charles Webster lost the race for mayor On his way out of the office, he got the council to overturn this. It was punitive in nature and disappointing. I think so highly of Charles Webster. He is a good man. He did a good job serving as mayor. Ronnie Dixon, I consider him a friend. I thought he did a good job as city manager. But that's the way elections work. You didn't win. The people wanted to make a change. And a lot of punitive actions took place on the way out the door that in my opinion, kind of sullied a good reputation. These guys had done a good job. They had poured their hearts and souls into Clay, and to do things like what they did with the Butterbean Festival directed at Pinson, to do this and put this current council in this position, it's just not a wise
it's been
decision.
Interesting to watch.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to remind people that this was passed by the city council. It was a 5-1 vote. There was one opposing vote by Nathan Thompson,
opposed it,
disagreed. But city councils can do that because, according to the legislature, your city council can raise your millage rate up to 5 mils.
5 mils, right. So it's what they're doing is fine, and Nathan had good reasons for opposing it. I think he said there was $12 million in the account, so he didn't necessarily think they needed to bring it back. That's a valid reason. Yeah. That's a valid reason. But it's kind of how they got here. This is just disappointing because it's good people doing things that I just don't think was in their nature. And it was really unnecessary. So
well, and because they are part of the Jefferson County school system, it will be interesting to see how they set this up.
Yeah. Well, they've got Clay Elementary, Clay Chalkville Middle, and Clay Chalkville High School. Those schools have needs, and those are a lot of Clay kids who are going to school there. But there's also other education going on within the city, so maybe it'll be open to even more people. I don't know, but basically they're putting the 5 mills back in place that was there when they won the election, but was removed before they took office. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yep. Okay. But I did want to, because a resident specifically asked that question, and it was in the story, I did want to be clear that it's not like they brought back the exact same. They didn't use the same ordinance or whatever before.
They had to rewrite it and do it
policy.
again, and they're not even talking about a police department now. This is focused on education,
Right.
and that's the intent of the mayor and council, and I'm sure they'll use it in that regard.
All right, now let's turn to Trussville City Council news. So there was, Ben was here a couple weeks ago speaking about this new development that they're looking at off of Camp Coleman Road here in Trussville, where 25 acres of this property, the property owner is going to agree to donate money for an additional elementary school there, which we desperately need. There, according to what he said when he was here before, are a lot of there are many benefits to what will happen as far as infrastructure and traffic flow changes and access behind the railroad that sounded really good for the city. But this conversation got a little heated about this particular development at council this week, so I'm going to let you take it from there.
Okay, it got very heated, and that's part of the story. The bigger, more important part of the story, now I've got an op-ed that'll be out shortly this afternoon that gets into this a little bit, and so what we've got. First of all, I want to talk about this council. All right, we knew going in with 4 out of 5 council people serving their first time in city government, there would be a learning curve. Okay, and that's expected. Then you've got a council president and a mayor with 1 term under their belt. All right. I don't care if they had 10 terms under their belt. They're going to make mistakes, but they're human. We elect humans. But when you're new, that can be amplified a little bit, and I get that. I want to give this mayor and council a little bit of credit. This is the second major project that they have faced. The first being a proposed grocery store next to Watterson Parkway. Okay. I get into this a little bit in the op-ed. I'm not crazy about the school penny being involved in any incentives. I think the way we've done it in the past, setting it aside, that's not touchable, is probably the way to go. I think I've actually got a lot of confidence in this council and this mayor. I think that's what they're going to ultimately come around to.
Well, and he said when he was here last time on the show that, so yeah, that one is flexible with that project, but from there on out, he said, I'm committed to keeping that penny.
Well, that's where they need to go, but this really isn't about the penny.
Right.
I'm just pointing out that's I think was probably a mistake on their part. But it's very easy to lose sight of everything else sometimes when you're focused on one element of it. This is what's impressed me about this young council, figuring things out as they go along. It's clear to me that they have come into office focused on things that matter. One is infrastructure. This is the second project, Waterson being the first, which was a commercial development. This will be a residential development if it is approved. And in both cases, there are heavy infrastructure improvements paid for by the developer. If the developer doesn't pay for those, they're still going to need to be done at some point, and that's going to be you and I paying for it. Because it's the city, it's the citizens that pay for it if the developer doesn't pay for it. So for the second time in a row, we're seeing very significant infrastructure improvement going on. One of the other big items that people in Trussville, you've lived here longer than I've owned the Tribune, far longer, and I imagine you've heard this pretty much all your life. Residents south of town getting caught at the train tracks. Waterson was put in place because there was no other alternative. But before Waterson, you just waited.
Oh, you just waited.
You may get very familiar with Moody because you may have to go to Moody to gas up your car. You couldn't get across tracks. So this has been.
Yeah, you just went home. I remember.
This has gone through.
You just went home.
This has gone through multiple administrations. And in this proposed neighborhood, this proposed subdivision going in, there is a significant step forward in residents south of the train tracks that have been getting stuck. This is going to be another big step in alleviating that. So it's easy to get caught up like on the 1 cent tax for schools. Again, I've said my piece about that, but you don't want to get so caught up in that you miss big things going on, and that's what I think we're looking at here in this subdivision. So, first of all, we had a lot of residents along Camp Coleman that showed up. I don't blame them. I'd probably have been with them if I lived over there. A lot of them with questions, and a lot of them wanted to share concerns. That's why they have public speaking at city council meetings, and they should do that. Every citizen should be comfortable coming in and doing that, asking questions. You're a citizen here too. You have every right to get as much information as possible. But the meeting itself started escalating. I'm going to get to that in a second. Let's talk about the other features of this development. Schreiber, is that how you pronounce it? Schreiber Drive, I think. It's if you turn onto Camp Coleman off Highway 11, you got the car wash on the right.
Yeah.
As soon as you pass the car wash, there's about 2 or 3 little commercial buildings and another drive. That's Schreiber. It currently goes beside Schreiber Industries or whatever the name of those offices are.
You turn left there?
You turn right. You turn right after you pass car wash on the same side. Just as you pass car wash, you'll see the commercial buildings, and you'll see a very short drive. That's Schreiber. It only goes about 200 feet. It basically goes to the back of the business and stops. There's a fence there. All right. So part of this proposal extends that road a mile, paralleling Highway 11.
Right.
Okay, the idea of building infrastructure on the south side of the train tracks to parallel Highway 11 to give residents on the south side of the tracks multiple ways to get up and down, paralleling 11 with multiple crossings.
Because you can already pull over the train tracks and turn left at Pump It Up, and that's a new road that parallels.
That will take you in.
And it goes to like Stockton. And you can, or close to it.
Yes.
It goes through the industrial park.
That's right.
And you can get away from a train block by going down that road.
And you come out on Commerce Drive in front of Payne, almost in front of Payne.
Yes.
So that is
and it works great. I've used it for that very reason.
And the Tribune's first offices were in the Commerce Industrial Park. It actually comes through right next to our old office, or right behind it. So that's what the city has been done. This dates back all the way to Gene Melton.
Okay.
And I talk about this in the op-ed. Then Buddy Choate came in for 9 years. He was mayor. They never took their eye off the ball. When this first came up, I remember hearing it, and I'm sure a lot of our audience felt the same way. That ain't never going to happen. This would take forever. Well, here we are, and we're about to make another. When this is complete.
But then what is the problem? Okay, go ahead.
When this is complete, it'll be less than a mile from Spring Street.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think about it.
Springs.
That makes it almost. We're not there yet, but this is a huge step forward in making it almost impossible for a train to completely block any section on the south. They still want to go up to Carrington. Okay, they still want to go up north to Carrington and catch it there. But you have to wait on developments to come along that open up some of this property. The city did not have to buy the right of way here. The developer is contributing that and building the road, a mile worth of road that puts it less than a mile from Spring Street. So, I mean.
And that's good for everybody's property value that lives on the south side of the railroad
And it's so much better for life, quality of life. If you want to go to the grocery store, you want to go when you want to go.
Yeah.
If you need to
or
go.
If you have an emergency
or meet people out for dinner, you don't want to be sitting behind a train for 20 minutes while your friends have started the salad.
I mean, you can. And I know that the legislature passed a couple of years ago the fining process that they put in place, and I hope that's still being used. But I mean, what day did I get my hair cut? Yesterday, there was a huge blockage on the, at the by the old on Main Street, basically. It was just huge sections of it for a very long time.
Right, and think about Watterson Parkway and the fact that opened up for people living south of the tracks.
It was a game changer. We lived back there. My parents did, and so when they opened Watterson, it was such a tremendous change.
And it affected residents all the way down behind Velma's. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can go from Chalkville Road, from South Chalkville, all the way over to Velma's because Watterson is there and gets you across. So in that case, one little link really freed a lot of people.
It was a game changer for the city at that time. Okay.
And
so what's the problem here? What's everybody mad at?
Well, the residents who live on Camp Coleman, obviously they've got concerns. That's a road that's been there a long time. And will the infrastructure handle it? Well, just as a memory or a little reminder here, just a few weeks ago, the Tribune reported that Senator Katie Britt gave Trussville a $4 million grant to 4-lane Deerfoot from Deerfoot Funeral Home all the way down to Camp Coleman.
Yeah.
So the city,
which was a big deal.
Huge deal. City got a $4 million grant to do that. That work is already getting started. Engineering's being done. They're moving on that. Mayor Short was in D.C. this week meeting with congresspeople and U.S. senators and showing them we need to do these same improvements on Camp Coleman's entrance to Highway 11 to match it up. I just knowing the legislators we've got in this area, Gary Palmer, Adderholt, Katie Britt is going to continue to work for this area. This was a very supportive area for her when she ran for the Senate. So I don't know when it'll come, but I feel pretty good that we'll eventually get that grant. That means that's money we're not coming out of our pocket for. Okay. So that's happening right now at the same time this is going on. I think the mayor returned this morning or last night. Don't know for which, but so they're already working on money for that infrastructure. One of the neighbors was concerned there's not room. There's a power station on one side, the car wash on the other. If you take a tape measure, there's plenty of room to expand that entrance. Plenty of room. Space is not an issue here. So these things are going forward. This will move that link way down the road. And I'm telling you, once you get within a mile of Spring Street, that's spitting distance. That won't take much to finish that out. If they can take it the route they want to go, they're looking at two different routes actually to make that connection. So that'll be a big deal. Here's another thing that is in this development that has also been on the Trussville citizens to-do list, so to speak, for a long time. we've got, in my opinion, one of the best park systems I've ever seen for a city our size. But it's all concentrated around the Greenway, right? The ballparks, the mall, the tennis courts, playgrounds. It's all kind of, that's part of the reason they took the Greenway path, is it does connect all of our parks together.
Right.
Now, I think that's a very cool thing. I've not seen another city that has that. But if you're living south of the tracks, if you're living somewhere out a little bit, the parks may not be super convenient. So we've always wanted to do some smaller parks throughout the neighborhood. South Chalkville and Roper has been discussed over and over and over, so those residents have something to enjoy. This development also includes a donation of property with 3 lakes on it, and that's going to be donated to the city and turned into park property. That'll include pavilions. There'll be a Greenway link that'll be put in here that will eventually connect to the Greenway, which will connect us, that area, to so much more. A pavilion, the fishing at the lakes, those lakes will be stocked and there'll be fishing. So this will be the first city park outside of the Greenway area. So that's significant. Once the city does one and figures that out, then they can start looking at opportunities to do others around town. So there's a lot of positive here.
Let's make another point before we leave here. I didn't see it in this story, but when we were talking about it, it seems like y'all said that maybe a comment was made that we don't want to run off developers. You and I kind of get bent out of shape about that because we feel like Trussville has been positioned for a long time that we should be able to pick and choose developers.
Yeah, I think there's some developers we probably should run off.
And I agree with you. But you did make the point that this is not one of those.
No.
So you've obviously done a little digging on them, and you were like, this is not one of those developers that you want to run off.
The developer has a very good reputation, as does Tower Homes, who would be building the houses. Okay. These are kind of the folks you want to come into your community. And just the fact that they've put so much on the table. This also, we've talked about it before, we mentioned it today, 25 acres for an elementary school. That was another unfunded need of our school system. They don't have the money, but they have to have the elementary school. Yeah. And while I appreciate, commenters and people questioning that, these are people who are experts and have built one of the best systems in the state of Alabama. I'm going to trust them over what you think we need if you have no experience in education, because this is working for us. Yeah. So that's another part of this. So when you get developers that are willing to contribute back in this way, and some of this credit goes to the Riggins family, the property owners that want to do something for the community that they've been a part of. So all of these are very positive things. Okay. There's still work to be done by the council and by the mayor in finalizing this. The thing that bothered me was the nastiness of that meeting. Oh. And
I think I'll go back and watch it.
If you haven't watched it, you should watch it. We had, and I'm going to just say it, we had a council member who completely got out of hand, started yelling at the mayor, started yelling at former council people, then tried to make himself the victim after acting horrendously, following no decorum whatsoever, ignoring the council president, repeatedly trying to gavel him back into place and bring the meeting in order. That attitude started early. And as that attitude started showing itself, you saw the public speakers, the citizens who came to make public comment, you saw them start escalating the way they talked to city leaders, the way they talked to the developer, which was so inappropriate. One accused the developer of quid pro quo, right? For making a donation of 25 acres for a school. That's quid pro quo. You don't know what quid quo pro means if that's what you think. So the behavior of one council person escalated the bad behavior of some residents who were, I know, to be good and laid back people, and they're not that way. I will say this, almost all the citizens who spoke, regardless of whether they agreed or disagreed, were, in my opinion, very respectful. They had good questions. They had fair questions. Okay. They did a good job playing the role of citizens, and our council, the majority of, did a really good job working with and trying to answer those questions. So it's a shame to see one or two people turn something so negative and so ugly. And there were some of the people who were there actually started, congratulating this council person because he was saying what they wanted to hear. But if you're a council, I'll just say this, one of the things that councilor brought up multiple times, he misrepresented what other council people had said. Nobody had said they're putting the city's rights over the people's rights. That comment was made by a councilor, completely untrue. The other councilors are following state law. They are following what they are allowed to do by law. But suddenly the conversation turns into dezoning property. So I would just say to any city councilor anywhere in the state of Alabama, if you want to start dezoning people's personal property to put there what the central state or central government wants to be there, you're going to be a whole lot happier in communist China. Actually, any communist country, any socialist country, or California, throw that in there, you're going to be much happier in any of those places than you're ever going to be in a place like Trussville, where we have very conservative views and we value people's property, personal property, and we value their right to do what they want to do within the law on that property. Yeah. So I hope that's an episode we don't witness again. Okay. We should not have witnessed it this time. In 18 years of covering multiple city councils, because Trussville's not the only city we cover, I have never, ever seen a city council person use that kind of behavior, exhibit that kind of behavior and inappropriateness. I've never seen that in a public meeting, and we've covered some very heated meetings over the years. Yeah. So that needs to come to a stop immediately. And I hope the fellow council members, if that council member can't bring it under control, they'll bring him under control, because there are actions they can take as well. But all in all,
we've seen that happen. So
let's not lose sight of some very positive things. This young council that's still kind of figuring out where they are and what they're doing, let's not lose sight that they have made some tremendous strides forward in infrastructure. And there's a bit of an irony to hear person after person after person share concerns about infrastructure when just a few feet away from the microphone is a giant display of one of the best infrastructure improvements we've seen south of the train tracks in a long time. Okay. So you got to see the big picture. You got to consider it. We're not going to stop Trussville from growing. If this comes as a surprise, Trussville's been the fastest growing city in Jefferson County for 26 years. Based on census estimates, which we get every year, we're 4 years away from 30 years of being the fastest growing city by percentage in Jefferson County. People want to be here. They want to be here for these great schools, which we have not always funded as well as we probably should have. I think there's been legitimate reasons for that over the years. But when you have an opportunity to move stuff forward and somebody else is paying for your kids and your community, and they're good developers that you want in your town, you need to show proper decorum. Even if you disagree, you need to show proper decorum. Doesn't mean you got to agree with it. Doesn't mean you have to go along with it. Doesn't mean you have to vote yes. But you should never be rude to people who are coming into our community. It's just inappropriate. And I would say the same thing if any counselors were rude to any of those residents that got up to speak. Oh, yeah. Even if they disagree or they call you names, you should still display respect toward them. Because that's going to come up at some point. But the truth is, we should never have a city councilor escalating that sort of thing in a public meeting. No reason for that. Okay. No reason for that.
Well, we'll move on. But still in the area of Trussville city business, the city did launch a new online portal for code compliance complaints. And so what that means is that it's just, I guess, an easier way for if you have a situation in your neighborhood where there's, junk and debris accumulating in someone's yard, or unregistered vehicles, or poorly maintained structures that you think are becoming dangerous, or the grass looks really, really, really bad, or illegal dumping, animals, nuisance animals, or animals that are not properly leashed. We do have a leash law in Trussville, and there are a lot of people that don't follow that. And so anyway, you can, as a resident, you can submit that concern now through an online reporting portal. You can get to it through the Trustful City website, but there is a direct link in the story at trustfultribune.com.
Yeah, the city's making it easier than ever to squill on your neighbor, and it's, it'll be popular, I bet.
I'm sure it will be. I will say, okay, I am going to say
this. It ain't
this.
Big Brother that's watching. It's your next door neighbor that's watching.
I will say this, so I like to walk my dogs.
Yeah.
And it does make me feel very unhappy and I have stopped walking in certain areas where I was repeatedly other people's pets would come out of their yard and after my dogs on their leashes.
We've had it too, yeah.
And I did always feel a little bit helpless, and I'm like, well, I don't, who do I even call to complain about that? Well, now you don't have to worry about that. You can just submit. Because that's not okay when your animal comes out and chases somebody. I literally have run down the street yelling, trying to get a dog away, and I've got my two who are mostly behaving on their leashes.
Well,
and we're following the rules.
You've got control.
Right, and then we're being, attacked by somebody. And this is a good place for that. That's just an example.
I will say this, I joke that it's a tell on your neighbor button. It kind of is, but this is probably a better idea than confronting your neighbor. Think if you do it friendly, you don't know how that neighbor may react, and sometimes it's just uncomfortable to do it. And I guess this will go to Chuck Bradford, our code enforcement officer. I can tell you, I've talked to Chuck about when he's had to go out and enforce code ordinances. We could not have a better person with a better disposition for that job.
Yeah, and I think first you just get a letter.
Yeah, well, and if you got a visit from Chuck, you'd get a visit from one of the nicest, friendliest citizens that we could actually ever send out to do that. Yeah. He is not going to be abusive to anyone. He is going to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. He will take the time to explain, this is what's going on. Here's how you can remedy it. He's there to fix it, not to write you a ticket. That's kind of a last resort thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I joke about it being a squill on your neighbor button. It kind of is. Yep. But
a very efficient one.
It's probably a good idea. And maybe in a lot of cases a better idea than confronting your neighbor for sure.
All right, last story in this section. We did cover this several months ago when it happened, and this was a tragic story of what seems to be an accidental shooting in Trustful that resulted in the death of a young woman who was a student at Auburn. But it turns out that the man in Trustful who did that, his name is Jeffrey Towers. He has been arrested and charged with manslaughter.
Yeah, I think it's negligent manslaughter. I can't remember if they were that specific in the documents that I saw, but the Trustful police have said from early on, after they completed their investigation, they did believe it was accidental. Negligent manslaughter is a charge that would be appropriate for something like this. Manslaughter kind of means that it was accidental, but if your negligence caused it, the charges could come, and they have. In this case, I don't know if the grand jury returned that, or if that was a charge handed down by the Jefferson County magistrate.
But he was arrested by Trustful police. I think it was Monday night without incident, and anyway.
And bonded out shortly after on a $30,000 bond. So. Our hearts go out to this girl's family. I just can't imagine losing a child. She was dating the gentleman who was arrested. She was dating his son.
It's a terrible tragedy.
Yeah, it is so tragic, and things like this happen. But in some cases, if those things are avoidable, then this could be the result. So.
Yeah, it's so I can't imagine how these families are feeling. Okay, well, we have more to come in the next section, but we are going to take a quick break. Stay with us.
Birmingham market and surrounding areas, we have had the privilege of seeing this city grow and change.
I've lived in Birmingham since 1975 and raised my family here. I love helping great families find their next home so they can grow and support our community.
My husband and I have been in Trussville since 2010, and I'm raising 2 kids who love making the Huskies proud.
We have loved exploring the thriving communities around Birmingham, like Trussville, Vestavia, Leeds, Homewood, and Hoover.
Whether you're relocating to Birmingham, looking to downsize, get more space for your growing family, or invest in property, we know the ins and outs of each neighborhood.
When it comes to selling, our experience means we know exactly how to market your home to get it seen by the right buyers. From professional staging to top-notch photography, we help make sure your property stands out and gets the attention that it deserves.
We've built relationships with top local contractors, lenders, and inspectors so we can connect you with the best in the business when you're ready to buy or sell.
Are we back? Okay. All right. So let's talk about, so there's an incredibly
We are back.
Yeah, we're back. Let's talk about, there's an incredibly popular little restaurant that's been there for a long time in Grayson Valley, and it is the Euros Cafe. We were discussing how to say that correctly. But anyway, it caught fire last week. They had a little kitchen fire, and so it's closed temporarily, but unfortunately that did not turn into something really big and terrible.
Yeah, you know, when Lori and I got married 25 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, we lived in the Grayson Valley townhome.
Oh, yeah, right across, yep.
So that was almost to the entrance to the neighborhood. Yeah. They had such variety.
Yeah, people love that place.
You could go there 5 nights and never eat the same thing twice. Yeah. You get something totally different, and the food was always good. Always, didn't it start as a Purple Onion?
It was a Purple Onion at one point.
And like a lot of them, changed its name, but didn't really change what it was.
Right, yeah.
Or the food or the menu.
Yep.
So that was a go-to. Now, I will say, you know, we moved over the hill into Trussville 20-something years ago, and you don't think about going back over there.
Yeah.
But my daughter's here today. She's back there interning a little bit for us. I had the chance to take her and her boyfriend over there, not this past weekend, but the weekend before for the first time. And I was reminded of how much I've enjoyed that place.
Yeah, people love it.
The pictures that came out the night of the fire looked a lot worse than it actually was. So I'm very grateful for that, because as many units as Centerpoint responded with, I'm seeing the pictures and thinking, oh my gosh, we've lost a landmark. And we've Brady did a story on it, talked to the folks over there, and evidently it was a fire contained to the kitchen area. It's going to take a minute to get it reopened, but they feel like they'll reopen very quickly, and so it'll still be there. I will start going to eat there more often and appreciate it a little bit more now that I thought we were about to leave it. But you know, everybody's got their favorites. The club roll-up was mine. Loved the gyros as well. My wife loved the chicken in a sack. Everybody had their favorite stuff. But yeah, that's a place we don't necessarily. They also, some people may not know this, you may remember Mango Tango.
Oh, I do.
That used to be above the old Tribune office. We were down on the backside of the bottom of that building, and they were our neighbor upstairs. That's them too.
Oh.
Yeah, so when that got bought out by was it Ortho?
Yes.
One of the medical facilities ended up buying most of that building. They just kind of folded it back in to the Euro Cafe. But if you look on the side of the building, they've got the Mango Tango sign hanging on the side of the building. So if you're like me and you love Euro Cafe, they're coming back, should be very quickly, and that's the good news that we get to report.
All right. Now let's talk about turning to Irondale. I was just going to announce this for them. It looks like that they are having a small business training program in their city, and there's a QR code in the story at TrussvilleTribune.com that you can scan that gets you to all the information that you need, but something that they're offering to some business training for restaurants and startups and local entrepreneurs and other people, you know, wanting to do business, even in partnerships with the city. So anyway, I wanted to let people know about that.
I love that idea. I want to look at it very closely and see if there's anything Trussville or other cities could steal.
I know, it's interesting.
Small business, owners have great ideas, but sometimes they don't have the experience or the knowledge.
Or know all the resources available.
And know what's out there to help them along. Irondale, we brag about them all the time. They're constantly doing cool and innovative things. So
They're
I
busy.
love the idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and we also want to talk about, so Taste of Trussville, did you get to go?
I did not.
What?
Well, we
Because you asked me if I needed 2 tickets. I couldn't go either because this is such a busy week with kids stuff.
we had stuff with the family
gotcha.
pet,
No,
and
I
that.
gotcha. I forgot that was all Tuesday night.
We were kind of less than festive.
Yes, absolutely.
After that,
Yes.
so I did the most therapeutic thing I could come up with. I drove to Coleman and I watched my 3-year-old granddaughter play baseball. If that's indeed what that game is, there is absolutely no better remedy for a down mood than watching my EJ.
100%.
So.
Well, it looks like, we knew the Taste had been sold out for a while, and so it looks like that they had a great event.
It's been sold, and it sells out every single year, doesn't it?
Yes, every year. And they had been advertising that, letting people know that it was sold out. But they had a great event. But what it does that everybody needs to remember is that it kicks off we call it Restaurant Week, but it's almost like, it's really 2 weeks here in Trussville.
Yeah.
And the bingo card, I think you can go by the chamber to get one. The ad has the bingo card too. I guess you can use it. That's in the paper.
Yep.
And so it ran last week. It's in the paper today also. And it shows you all the places you can go and check your bingo card. And there's just all kind of fun things involved with it. And so if you didn't get to go to Taste of Trussville, or even if you did, make sure you're taking advantage of the deals and discounts through Restaurant Week, because it's a fun thing.
It is a fun thing, and a lot of people in Trussville really get into that bingo card. I credit the women of Trussville for making that so popular. They have somehow managed to convince their husbands, we've got to go out to eat every night for the next 2 weeks because we want to support Trussville's chamber and our local businesses.
I agree.
Whatever excuse they're using, it's working and people like it. It is fun. And remember, a lot of these businesses run specials during Restaurant Week, so they kind of make it worth your while to do that.
I was trying to find my bingo card so that I could pull it back up and look at it. But
how many have you hit so far?
None. But anyway, I have a meal delivery thing now that I use to help me with my meals.
How long is the
Anyway, and so I should pause it though.
Sure.
And just go out and eat. How long is what? It runs to the 27th of May.
I was wondering how long the list was of restaurants. Can we read through them, or is it just too many to mention?
Let's see.
That's not. Oh, those are the people who were in.
Those were the people at Taste.
Yeah.
I just had it. Ron, will you can y'all show the Restaurant Week bingo thing again? Not that I can see it from there.
Did we have it?
Oh, I sent it. Yes, but that's okay. I was going to see if I could. Hang on. I'll pull it up.
We've definitely got it in the paper if we can't find it.
Yes, it is in the paper. Let's see, I'm going to pull it up. We'll see. Okay, well, if it opens, we'll let people know. I have it. Here we go. Okay, it is. So on here, I can blow through them real quick. We got 3-Eared Rabbit, La Calle, Tzatziki's, Sherry's Cafe, Peach Cobbler Factory, Milo's, Mr. West, Taco Mama, Fox's in Trussville and Argo, Walk-Ons, Maple Avenue Coffee House, Pinch Gut Pies, Rock and Roll Sushi, Meals by Misty, Jim and Nick's, Half Shell, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Brewster's, Munoz, Guthrie's, Ferris, Pastry Arts, Metro Diner, and Full Moon Barbecue.
There ain't a dog on the list. Every single one of those places
I know.
are
And
good.
so it has the ad out of the paper that you need to get. It has the bingo card, but then it also has the list and all the different discounts that each restaurant is doing. So, for example, at Fox's, you get 10% off your purchase. At Jim and Nick's, you get $5 off with a purchase of 20 or more. La Calle is doing a free ice cream scoop with a purchase of $15. Blah, 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 blah. So it's all kind of fun stuff to take advantage of.
A little something extra, little lagniappe, little something extra from each place. So that's a cool thing.
Yes.
It's a
Also
great
in the
idea.
ad is a 10% off Cahaba Sign and Design. So just putting that out there.
Yeah, some extra bonuses
Extra
to
fun
be.
stuff. Okay. All right. Now let's talk about so Film Dog Media, which is based here in Trussville, is involved with this documentary
excuse me,
that is going to spotlight Alabama students from around the state.
That's our boy Mark Ward in the middle, and I think this is going to be on
Varsity Extra.
A Varsity Extra is going to highlight one of the things will be a mariachi band, I think from Pinson, that I think are high school students. So I think it's through PBS, is it not?
It is through Alabama Public Television.
Y'all, I'm sorry for my
and
cough.
it will premiere on Sunday, May 24th at 1, and then a follow-up episode is scheduled for Saturday, June 21st at 1.
If you haven't seen Mark's work, you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah.
Listen, he has actually produced multiple, what do they call them, pilots and programs for for possible airing on H&E, HGTV, A&E, some of those cable networks that the network ultimately did not pick up. He was usually contracted by somebody else to do that, and I saw them. They were fantastic. They were as good as anything on television, in my opinion, but ultimately the network may not pick them up. You're going to get a chance to see this, and he does some of the best work. You'll be shocked to realize that's being produced in Trussville, Alabama by a Trussville guy. So I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
he does a great job. And I did want to say this. So the episodes will spotlight the work of high school students across Alabama that are doing interesting things in tech, STEM, art, academics, and athletics. And says that the series is designed to showcase how Alabama students are preparing for life after graduation through these programs.
Yeah, he ran through some of the features they'll be doing. It's going to be interesting.
It'll be worth watching.
And it will be as professional as anything you've ever seen on television, because Mark's that good.
Yes, he is.
But the content is going to be worth watching. It's going to be stuff you want to see.
Okay, last but certainly not least, kind of give people, there's a lot going on in the Tribune area and specifically in Trussville with softball and baseball.
Yep. So let me put this really simple. We got to throw Moody. Was it Moody baseball or softball into this?
Oh, I thought it was baseball.
It may be. Maybe we can check and see.
I'll check.
If somebody's got a computer over
I'll
there.
check.
So Hewitt-Trussville softball and Hewitt-Trussville baseball are both among the 4 last teams in the state of Alabama playing ball, y'all.
Playing ball.
This is in both of our. Obviously I'm a huge fan of our programs. Where Jeff Malden was the first Tribune Sports Person of the Year. I think my love for Taylor Burt is well known. Even my wife knows how much I love Taylor. We've got the best softball coach in Alabama and some of the best baseball going on in our area, because along with this is I think Moody's baseball team is.
Yes, so they advanced to the 5A semifinals.
Okay, so this all cranks up this week and this weekend. Get out there and support them. We will have information up on where they're going, what they're doing, and who they're playing.
And I think, am I wrong? I hope I'm not wrong. I'm pretty sure softball is hosting here in Trussville. I think it's tomorrow.
I think you're correct.
Because I think the middle school's closing early.
And Hewitt is playing Thompson. The winner of the Hewitt-Thompson baseball will play for the state championship. They'll be playing for the state championship. So I don't know if Thompson's coming here or if we're going there. I don't know. But I love spring in Trussville, Alabama, because this is what we're really, really good at. I think we're kind of good at all of it, to be honest with you. But it's always exciting. And those are some coaches that have the ability to get you there on any given year. Remember, Hewitt baseball just lost last year a top 10 Major League Baseball draft pick.
Yep.
I mean, top 10.
Yeah.
And or come back and are getting ready to one more.
Oh, okay. It's the baseball that plays tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
the whole series is a 3-game series.
Let's see. The AHSAA baseball playoffs this Friday, May 15th at Phil English Field. HTMS will dismiss at 2:00. Let's see. I don't know what time the games are, but they're that afternoon. So early enough.
Do they have 2 on Friday and if needed on Saturday?
No.
We'll get all that straight. We'll get it online. So you'll be able to find it easily at TrussvilleTribune.com. That means if you drive a pickup truck and you're a Hewitt-Trussville High School student, you're going to back that truck up to the outfield fence very early tomorrow. Those spaces will go quick. If you are a mama or a daddy and you would like to actually sit down during the game, I recommend getting there about 9 o'clock in the morning. Go ahead and take your lunch with you because you'll be waiting a while, but that's the only way to guarantee yourself a seat. Yeah. It'll be packed.
It will be packed. So anyway. All right, that was a lot. We're done.
That was a lot. It's a big week.
Yes,
it's a big week.
We are. Okay. We will, I think it's going to be a great weekend. Beautiful weather that we're all enjoying. Getting ready to wrap up school here in Trussville next week. I'm assuming everybody else
We're
is.
slipping back into drought mode, though. I don't like that part.
I know. I was watching that. We were
supposed to get rain last night. I think it did come.
So they said, what, maybe at the end of next week?
Yeah, that's when they start talking that way. I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it. I like rain.
Well, don't panic yet. So anyway, we hope you have a great rest of the week and weekend. We'll be back next week.
Stop Ford,
your hometown dealership.
We're bringing you family-type atmosphere with the best customer service and the best buying experience around.
So visit us online at holdoutsfordbirmingham.com or make that fast drive to 9924 Parkway East. Come see and feel the difference.
If you don't have a will, trust, or some kind of estate plan, you're leaving your loved ones with a lot of headaches. Probate fees and tax issues bring stress to your family while they grieve your loss. Cahaba Law Group is here to protect them and give you reassurance that your hard-earned money and assets are not lost to bureaucratic mayhem. They can help you create the ideal estate plan. If you're currently in probate, Cahaba Law Group can help assist you there too. Plus, they can handle more than just probate. They can serve you in just about any legal matter. Begin now by scheduling a consultation at cahabalaw.net.
I'm Drew Lawley, General Manager at Courtesy Buick GMC. Come see us at Courtesy, where we have over 300 vehicles to choose from, including GMCs, Buicks, and certified pre-owned vehicles. Come see us at Courtesy or check us out at courtesybirmingham.com. Proud supporter of our area high school teams.